This program is brought to you by Community Trust Bank, Medical City, Bid Select, and the Neely School of Business at TCU. Welcome to Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. Now, here's your host, Shivaun Palmer.
Hey, welcome everybody to Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. My next guest is Renee Hornbaker. Renee has had more than 30 years of experience in financial management and is the CFO of Shared Technologies, Inc., a Fortune 100 best company to work for. She's a certified public accountant and sits on numerous advisory boards, including the Institute for Excellence in Corporate Governance Women's Program and the Dallas CFO Roundtable. She's a member of Financial Executives International and is president of the Dallas chapter. She's also served as a senior manager in the audit practice of Deloitte & Touche. Renee, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to have you here. Why don't we start at the very beginning? For those of us that are not from the financial world, why don't you define the role of a CFO?
Well, CFO can mean a lot of different things, but it generally is responsible for managing all of the cash of a company, raising the finances to help fund the company, whether it be equity or debt, all the accounting and reporting of the company, tax matters. It can encompass a number of broader areas than that. For example, I also have responsibility for purchasing and all supply chain for the company.
So it's an enormous job, very responsible. Let's talk about the company you work for, Shared Technologies. Being designated as a Fortune 100 company best place to work, that's quite an accomplishment. So tell us how the company got to that achievement.
It's all really about the culture and how you treat people, and it's a package of, yes, you have to have reasonable benefits, but in our case, I think it's really about the communication and the teamwork and treating people with respect and making everyone feel that they're engaged in the company's success.
Why was the financial industry of interest to you as a young girl? Is this something you set out to get into?
Not at all. I was going to be an actress.
I was just going to say, I love your demeanor. So,
I started out in theater in college, and
really,
when my professor kept talking about when you're starving in New York waiting on tables, and I said, no, this is not a girl who starves and waits on tables.
Even
I
if
said
it's
I had to
in
get
New York.
something that's going to make some money, and so I'm a person that's kind of right brain and left brain, and decided that I would focus on something where I could earn some money and have a profession, and that I wouldn't have to wait on tables.
There you go. Let me ask you, with the, I had asked this with another one of the business women here, the recent financial meltdown on Wall Street. How did that change your perspective at all in terms of the business you're in and moving forward in your company's
Well, I
culture?
think for a lot of CFOs that I know and a lot of business people, it changed how we look at risk. And I think people have become more risk averse. For a long time, everyone was very comfortable with a lot of debt, growing and not kind of looking back. And now people are a little more cautious, knowing that access to be able to grow with financing businesses with debt is not so possible anymore. And so focusing on profitability, focusing on cash generation rather than big growth. And I think that's unfortunate, because what's going to happen is that is going to constrain the amount of jobs growth in the U.S.
Could just go back to, how do you grow a business through debt? I mean, in the old days, how would that work?
Well, for example, to grow in our business, we have to buy more inventory, and we have to finance that inventory until we sell it, and so we need more borrowing from our bank.
Right.
Or it might be acquisitions that allow us to gain access to a broader group of customers or products, and so you finance an acquisition often with a lot of debt, and that's not so easy right now.
Renee, you've worked in numerous industries. I was just curious, even though it's a diverse array of companies, what do you think are key attributes that a business needs in order to be successful these days, in these hard economic times particularly?
I think a focus on financial matters is very important. I think a focus on customers is as important as ever, because customers also are going to be looking for who's going to support them, and if they're trying to cut their costs, you want to give them the best service that you can
Right.
give them.
And retain them.
And retain them.
Because it's an exorbitant cost to go out and try to get new customers vice trying to retain the ones you have?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
I know that you also owned your own company. Were there any unique challenges initially in launching your business that you had to deal with?
Well, I think the hardest thing in launching a new company is kind of the marketing aspects of it and trying to get your word out. And launching a company and trying to get the word out and provide service at the same time was very challenging to really find time to do both and be successful at both.
And I was also going to ask you too, there's a remarkably low percentage of women. I know you're very involved with numerous boards in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on corporate boards today. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I'm actually on a corporate public company corporate board, and I'm the only woman on the board, but we are actually looking for some diversity candidates now to expand our board. And I think traditionally it was board members recruited people that they worked with, that they were comfortable with. And there weren't that many women that they were working with or that they played golf with or bridge with or whatever it might be. And so they didn't look beyond their inner circle. And I think that has changed and evolved with the newer generations, and I think with some of the regulations, Sarbanes-Oxley has made it more important for boards to have broader horizons.
Why don't you explain to our audience, for those who are not familiar with the Sarbanes-Oxley legislation?
Sarbanes-Oxley was a reform act that came on in the wake of Enron and WorldCom meltdowns that really required companies to have a lot better corporate governance and a lot more independence from the corporation. They could really have ties, so they're really supposed to represent the shareholders. And it also regulated the accounting profession and put in place a lot of auditing rules.
As a CFO, were you amazed at some of the things that went on with Wall Street and what some of these companies try to get away with before they imploded on themselves? Or does nothing surprise you
anymore? Nothing surprises me about Wall Street. I think it's Wall Street's, in my dealings with it, it's a business where people are out to make money. And period. We got a little bit less than a minute to go. When we come back, I want to talk to you about a huge issue, particularly for our audience, about financial literacy for women. I think it's key in terms of moving forward with the economy and so forth. Renee, hold that thought. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Shivaun Palmer with Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. We'll be back in a moment.